On today's edition of the show, the Florida Panthers are back in practice. We discuss how the Florida Panthers have looked since bringing back Duclair and comments on Anthony Duclair. And one game through with a mostly healthy lineup, the Panthers are set to welcome in the Western Conference leading Vegas Golden Knights. Chris Gawlik of Locked On VGK will be joining the show later to discuss the matchup on Tuesday night.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, March 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're to our team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez, and you can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. Don't forget to subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On AHL Network and send in your screenshot of your subscription to the Locked On Florida Panthers YouTube channel and send it over to me for your chance to win 2 free tickets to the Florida Panthers versus Chicago Blackhawks game this Friday at FLA Live Arena. Best of luck, everybody. So the Florida Panthers, they were back at practice after having Sunday off. The Vegas Golden Knights will be starting a 5-game road trip starting Tuesday at FLA Live Arena. We're going to get more into that later in the show. But today was picture day for the Florida Panthers. They were back at practice, and Barkov was given a maintenance day for the Cats. And Colin White was inserted on the top line. But everything that Maurice said to the media after the fact was that they got to take advantage of the schedule, the 2 days off in between games, which after this back-to-back on Friday and Saturday, the Florida Panthers will have 4 days off. So the schedule is being very it favors them at this moment in time. But and if they keep winning, especially these next 3, man, are those off days with the other teams playing games in hand, they're going to look good, because I mean, right now it's looking good for the Panthers tonight as I'm recording this at 11:04 p.m. on a Monday night, where I'm recording this shortly after the Edmonton Oilers defeated the Buffalo Sabres by a final score of 3-2 in Buffalo at home. And currently, I actually have my phone right in front of me with the Blackhawks Ottawa Senators game, and the Senators are losing 4-0 against Chicago in the middle of the second period, and Chicago had 4 goals on 11 shots. So Seth Jones having 2 goals for the Blackhawks, and then Connor McDavid for the Oilers against the Sabres. He had 2 goals himself. 6 goals away from 60 for Connor McDavid. What a season he's having. The Hart Trophy winner, more than likely. But going back to the Panthers, they're back, and Barkov with these maintenance days. These are the days that could benefit you. If you're given the proper rest, you come out in the games you're supposed to win and get the dubs, and it's going to help on days like Monday night. And let Anthony Duclair and talking about how what he had to say, just being a three games back for the Florida Panthers, as the Chicago Blackhawks actually just made it 5-0 just now in just 3 minutes into the third period. And just Duclair talked about how he is trying to be in midseason form, and he's definitely brought that extra jolt. He's not afraid to get right in front of the net. He's throwing out the body. It feels like he's doing it more now than what he did prior to the injury. And it just tells me that he's gotten a little bit over that mental hurdle that it's come to getting through the injury and getting on the ice. And let's not forget that Maurice spoke about how Duclair, it really up to him now at that moment in time whether he was going to take the ice. About he was Florida Panthers case before calling up Corey Denstego and then him down, of course, for the Panthers and as well there. And it's just one game through with a mostly healthy lineup. Of course, I know Patrick Hornquist right now is on LTIR, likely not to return for the season, but also what Duclair has done off the ice too. Having his trainer from Montreal stay with him in South Florida. He's in on every team meeting prior to everything. He's around the team, and it's a cliche, of course, that we've been saying in the media about trade deadline acquisition. And Bill Zito used that same terminology as well when talking about him being the trade deadline acquisition for the Florida Panthers. And Bill Zito spoke about how he's torn an Achilles himself. So talking about how it's kind of hard to you think about whether you're going to tear it again. And it's like, no, it's just scar tissue for Anthony Duclair when it comes to taking one stride. And it's like, oh, but after getting some practices in, it's he's only 3 games in, but we are seeing that impact as well, and it's of course creating more of that balance with the lines as well. I mean, Paul Maurice spoke about in his media availability too about having Etu and Barkov bringing that defensive presence. Of course, the Selke Trophy winner in Sasha Barkov as well, and then Etu Luostarinen bringing that defensive structure as well to the Panthers. It just creates so much of that balance on the top line, and it helps put less pressure on someone like Anton Lundell as well. Going back to his natural position at center, and then going against other teams as bottom 6 too, to maybe gain a little bit of that confidence back. And Paul Maurice called it a ripple effect. And also, Paul Maurice spoke about Sergei Bobrovsky's preparation as well. I mean, I have it written down right here. Since December 12th, Sergei Bobrovsky, 14-9-1, 919 save percentage, 261 GAA, about how his preparation is not like it's not casual, and that when the video coach comes out after the game, he's one of the last people to leave the rink, and he's one of the first coming so early to practice too. And just the performance is a byproduct of what he's doing prior to every game, every practice. And this run that the Panthers are on, it's just so much credit of it goes to Sergei Bobrovsky. As far as like January, I know they've had slip ups there, but the Panthers wouldn't be right here where they are on still a few points out from the last wild card spot if it wasn't for Sergei Bobrovsky. In segment number 2, we are going to be bringing in the host of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, Chris Gawlik, on the show to discuss more of the matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. But first, we're going to tell you all about FanDuel Sportsbook. And we're the midway point through the NBA season, and it's here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line, point scores, to threes drained. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance to pay out with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And now welcoming in one of the hosts of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, Chris Gawlik. You can follow him on Twitter at TDChrisG. Chris, welcome into this crossover edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
What's going on? How are we doing? How's the weather down there? It sucks here right now, but how's it down there?
It's really hot. It's there's a lot of
Perfect.
pollen that gets on my car, and I went to a golf tournament yesterday, and I got poured on as I was exiting the tournament. So March, that time for the showers to come over here to the state of Florida. Not
Yeah,
so
but
much.
two minutes later, it was gone though, because that's what happens in Florida, right? It rains for 8 minutes, and it's gone for and then do it again, right?
Yeah, it was a good like hour and a half with that snow with that rainstorm. But
That's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, so let's talk about this matchup for the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights last 10, 7-1-2 in their last 10. Big trade deadline for them, getting Ivan Barbashev, Terry Bluger, and of course the big one, Jonathan Quick. He did start in their game Sunday against the Montreal Canadiens. Had the lead, but kind of blew it. How are you feeling right now about Jonathan Quick's acquisition to the Vegas Golden Knights?
Necessary. I was at the game yesterday. It was a ton of fun, and it's I'm still pitching myself every time I think Jonathan Quick is a Vegas Golden Knight. Not because of like who he is as the player and like what he might bring, but just the totality of everything. Like it's just such a wacky and crazy year in the NHL. In Vegas, obviously, we're a circus every year, good, bad, or otherwise. So this fits right into what the Golden Knights are doing. But Quick was fine yesterday. He had a real solid 2 periods. The second period, most importantly, pardon me, that was where he really earned his stripes, so to speak, with the Golden Knights. Montreal outshot the VGK almost by 2 in the second period. A lot of big saves. Third period, he did let in 3 goals. The second goal, I think, was a little bit weak. He dropped a little soon. Had a clear view of the puck, just missed it. Fine, whatever. But the first and third goal he gave up, nothing's happening. First goal was off of a face-off play where the forward was late getting to the defenseman who made a great play, walked right in. Third goal, bang, bang in front of the net. No one's saving it. So, good start for Quick. Good start to his time with the team. And I think he's going to be just fine. It was a necessary acquisition given our current goaltending situation.
Yeah, and even goaltending situation with Robin Leonard not playing, getting trading for journeyman Aiden Hill, who's had a decent season himself. But of course, you want to get that insurance with goaltending. And Vegas Storms in the last few years, of course, always being up against the cap. Of course, traded Pacioretty for not as much as they would like to have gotten back, of course, but that was a cap dump for them. And of course, Eichel missing a lot of time as well. But Ivan Barbashev was a guy that I was kind of looking for maybe the Panthers to do something. But man, when they face against the St. Louis Blues, I saw that he was consistently on the penalty kill, really great in that role, and some guy who's up right up against the net. And in 4 games, five points in those four games. How great of an acquisition has Ivan Barbashev been for the Golden Knights?
Surprising. So the first day, I mean, listen, Vegas was talking about Timo Meier, Patrick Kane, even Tarasenko for a minute, and then Barbashev is the first move. We're like, okay, cool. Who's this guy? You do a little research about him. 60 points last year on a poor St. Louis Blues team. This year, he is not anywhere near that pace. So we were kind of wondering what his role is going to be. After just one pregame skate, not even a full practice with the team, they shoved him on line 1 with Eichel and Marchessault. We're like, okay. The team gets shut out 3-0. Only time since January 28th, the Vegas Golden Knights have actually lost in regulation. So nice little run that the VGK is currently on. And then all of a sudden, he rattles off 5 points in like the next 3 games after that, and he is just ticking, or 2 games, whatever it's been. He is ticking so well with Eichel and Marchessault, mainly Jack Eichel. Found the back of the net twice on Sunday. 2 just right around the net. The puck finds him. The first one, Eichel just dropped a dime to him. Second one, puck kind of bounces off, goes over the line by an inch or 2, and he actually had more playing time, Barbashev this is, than William Karlsson, who's been our primary penalty killer along with him and Riley Smith. But Barbashev is scoring goals, whereas William Karlsson is not. So very interesting to see how a new guy just comes right in and starts pushing other people down the lineup.
Yeah, and also also big contribution to the bottom 6 now who's leading the Vegas Golden Knights in points. But of course, with a little bit of a caveat with Mark Stone not being in the lineup ever since the January 12th game against these same Florida Panthers, Chandler Stevenson, he's found himself into a bigger role on this team as well. Talk about how great of a season he's had for VGK.
Chandler Stevenson, he's been up and down. At times he's been the line one. Last year before Eichel was a thing, Stevenson was the line one center, and then obviously here comes Jack Eichel. So for a while, the line, even go back to last year again for a second, Stevenson was really prospering between Stone and Pacioretty. It was one of the top lines in all of the NHL as far as output and scoring went when all three of them were on the ice together. This season, the line for a long time was Eichel, Stevenson, and Stone. Again, a very solid line. Stevenson moved from center to wing, though. Keep that in mind. And then things kind of worked. They kind of didn't, so they were moving some people around. And after the All-Star break, Stevenson has actually found himself down on line 3. But it's not necessarily a demotion as much as it is balancing things out. And they had a real nice thing going on line 3 with actually Phil Kessel and Will Carrier. Unfortunately, Will Carrier suffered a lower body injury. I believe it was the Friday night game, out indefinitely. Indefinitely is not a good sign. A few of us are fearing it's at least regular season ending, possibly all of the 2022-23 season ending, situation going on for him. So back to Stevenson. I don't have his direct numbers in front of me, but he's noticeable every game. He can kill. He's on the power play. He's fast. Ton of effort, and a great find by Kelly McCrimmon a few years back, obviously, to mine someone like him. And I was kind of joking about Barbashev. I said this last week on our show. I said it would be nice if Barbashev turned out to be a diamond in the rough, like Chandler Stevenson was. And I said it laughing and threw it aside and whatever, and that's just what would be happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you spoke about William Carrier, who got the game-winning goal against the Florida Panthers in their January 12th matchup, which Brandon Montour did push Carrier into Bobrovsky, and then just a challenge that Paul Maurice might have wanted back after the Panthers could have still been even strength 5-on-5.
I think that was a late challenge, like right at the end of the game, right?
Yeah, it was towards the end, and then
it was just a Hail Mary. It was, God, I hope this gets overturned, but it's probably not going to get overturned. I get both sides of it.
But a clear push by Brandon Montour to.
Oh, we agree 100% on that. 100%.
Yeah, so with that one, but yeah, so with Vegas, they mentioned earlier weathering storms with the cap, and of course trading first round picks like it's candy ever since their inception.
F those picks.
Yeah, they have kind of like the LA Rams motto as well, and even the 100% kind of have it as well for them. One final question: who is the main starter going forward for the Vegas Golden Knights? Is it Jonathan Quick or Adin Hill?
Adin Hill. So most likely Adin Hill. So this has been a topic that's been very strange all season long. Logan Thompson was the man. Logan Thompson, unfortunately, suffered what looked like to be possibly a worse injury than it's going to end up being. Again, he goes down right after the All-Star break. I think it was game 1, actually, and it looked like an ACL situation. Couldn't put any weight on the leg. A few days go by, and the announcement is not going to miss the rest of the regular season. Okay, fine. A couple days ago, the update is not even close to skating. There's not much time left in the regular season. We're down to the last 20 or so games right now, maybe even less for some teams now. So that's the situation with Logan Thompson. Adin Hill, I believe we were talking today on the show, if my memory serves me right, 16-6, 279 or 269 goals against average, and a save percentage that has him right at like 914 or something like that. So save percentage has him right in the middle of the league right now, just a couple ticks behind Logan Thompson. But it seems like that Bruce Cassidy is quick to not want to give a lot of props to Adin Hill. It's just a strange thing. I don't know if this is just him trying to keep Adin Hill motivated, if he's trying to keep Adin Hill grounded. Or even I got a good point from one of our followers today. Maybe they try and undersell him on the media stage. So at least before the trade happened, they didn't want teams trying to make a move for him or something like that, or even next season. Who knows? So Adin Hill definitely has the numbers, and it seems like Adin Hill is the man. but there are concerns about how Coach Cassidy, what that relationship might be. So the big question is, will Jonathan Quick possibly take the net at some point and run with it? And the answer is, it's not off the table. Coach Cassidy is very quick. If things aren't going well, he's going to yank you. And he's not that, like Gerard Gallant, our first coach. If you messed up, something didn't go well, he wants to get you right back out there to fix it. Cassidy will sit you, and he'll sit you for a while. He's sat some of our starters before he sat our line, like not necessarily a healthy scratch situation, but he has benched our line one players for large percentages of entire periods if things aren't going well. So you better believe if he's not happy about what's happening in the net, when you got a two-time Stanley Cup winner, 16 or 17-year vet, yeah, that's a tough thing breathing down your neck. But Adin Hill's first test with Jonathan Quick behind him was a phenomenal effort this past Friday against the New Jersey Devils, where I think it was 46 of 49 saves, but so many high-danger saves. Shut him down in the shootouts. Amazing efforts in the overtime. So Adin Hill feels a little air behind him right now. He knows he's got someone real good behind him, and sure, it's comforting to a degree, but we're all competitive people. We all want to be on the ice and stuff, and Adin Hill wants that net right now, and he's going to do whatever he can to keep it. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if Quick did get consecutive starts at some point down the stretch. But you guys will get Adin Hill on Tuesday night.
And likely seeing Adin Hill on Tuesday night. Of course, third organization in his career. Jonathan Quick, a two-time Stanley Cup champion, and Logan Thompson was in the conversation for the Calder Trophy earlier this season. So maybe not the worst.
He was the chalk. He was the chalk before Matty Beniers started taking off.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely a good problem to have if you're the Vegas Golden Knights. But Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming on for a segment here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they could follow you online.
Yeah, folks, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, anywhere you find your podcast. We do the audio, obviously, or on YouTube as well. Would love for you guys to come check us out and learn a little more about the circus that is the Vegas Golden Knights. And it is a circus, but it's a fun circus, I promise. It's not everything it's added up to be. Come hang out with us, and hopefully we'll make you enjoy what Vegas does a little bit more. Me personally, you can find me at TD Chris G. That's like touchdown, TD Chris G.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, and hope to talk to you soon.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Just want to tell you that this episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast is brought to you by Athletic Greens. And I started taking AG1 because I need a little bit a break from the coffee. I use it every day due to me putting a little bit of rules for myself, saying no more coffee after 10 a.m. So that's why I started taking my Athletic Greens. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients support your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. With just one scoop in a cup of water every day, that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Want to thank Chris Gawlik of Locked for joining me for the middle segment of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast to talk more about the Vegas Golden Knights. What's going on cap situation, trade deadline, sending a whole bunch of assets to make their team continuing to be competitive throughout the Western Conference and giving them a chance to be in the race every year. And of course, injuries were a big factor to why they did not qualify for the postseason last year. Of course, we didn't even mention Pete DeBoer and the relationship with him and Robin Lehner, about everything that was going on there with what was true about Robin Lehner's injury, what was not true about it. And then, of course, Pete DeBoer is now in Dallas. Here comes Bruce Cassidy from the Boston Bruins, who got fired there. And then Jim Montgomery is now in Boston as well, and now they're on their way on track to the President's Trophy. And look what happens: the Vegas Golden Knights get healthier. They and even without Mark Stone and even with Jack Eichel missing some time, they're at the top record of the Western Conference. We spoke about we didn't really talk too much about how their road record 17-6-5 this season, and it's just incredible playing away from Vegas, where it could be a distracting place in Vegas, and then you take your show on the road and you put up this type of record. You got to learn how to win on the road, and the Vegas Golden Knights, they're built to compete in that conference, even though a lot of people still have Edmonton as that team to possibly make a run after getting Matthias Ekholm. Nick Bjugstad is another acquisition that the Edmonton Oilers made in the West, and four teams that are just separated by 6 points too. And first period scoring, I this is a stat that I found, Hockey Reference. First period scoring, their goal differential just in the first period alone is +13, and that's very. They get off to fast starts whenever they're leading after one period. They're 21-4-0, and when they score first, they are 11-2-1 on the road. So big opportunity for the Florida Panthers if they can shut them down early on in the first period and control the pace of the game. They do have the last change. And of course, going up against the Jack Eichel line, of course, Chandler Stevenson, we spoke about in the second segment about how he's contributed on their third line. It's not going to be an easy matchup for Anton Lundell. Ivan Barbashev is part of now a pretty top heavy line up there with Eichel and Marchessault there. And of course, can't forget Stanley Cup champion Alex Pietrangelo on that first pairing, along with another Stanley Cup champion, Alec Martinez. We spoke about likely seeing Aiden Hill in this matchup. Saw Aiden Hill the last time around these two teams faced, but they are middle of the pack in scoring goals, while the Panthers are eighth. The goals against, that's the part where Vegas is really tough to get through. And as far as over under, as far as goals, they have it at 6.5. I'm gonna go with the under on that one. And then as far as the money line for this game, the Panthers are at 140 in this one. In only 9 games total between the two teams in the history of this head-to-head, and the Panthers have only won 3 times. All of them have been on home ice for the Panthers. Let's not forget that they haven't defeated the Vegas Golden Knights on the road at all this season. So big opportunity for the Panthers to continue after getting a whole bunch of help tonight with the Buffalo Sabres losing to the Edmonton Oilers, and Ottawa going to go down to the Chicago Blackhawks on the road. So, and let's not forget, with Ottawa surging, we haven't even mentioned that the Florida Panthers do play the Ottawa Senators twice towards the end of the season. Only faced them once, and they had 58 shots on goals, which was a franchise record for the Panthers in that game. So kind of have a good taste in your mouth when thinking about possible head-to-head matchups for the Florida Panthers against other teams competing in the wild card race. So on tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, it is a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. We'll be bringing in Jacob Winans to break down this matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights, and he'll be there in person. So we'll get an in-person perspective on everything in relation to Panthers Golden Knights. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NHL with local analysis that Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.